Welcome to E3, Engage and Empower with Empathy, a podcast brought to you by the Empathy Collective, a consulting firm that helps business leaders inspire change, one conversation at a time. We are building a community of like-minded leaders and experts who all share the same passion, taking care of people at work. Whether you are a blue-collar worker or white-collar worker, small business owner or corporate executive, you belong in this community.
No longer safe at home, don't wanna die alone. Nobody's at home, nobody's at home. Tears to they all, they looking like stars. Take me to Mars, banging out these bars. Look up to the sky, I am very high. Wish you were mine, just you and I. Just you and I. Just you and I. Look up to the sky, I am very high. Wish you were mine, just you and I.
You just heard the inspiring voice of singer, songwriter, and producer CARA, who is now performing under her trademark name CARA as she returns to the music world with a powerful new project. Her debut album, The Kronicles, is more than a collection of songs. It's a raw, genre-blending journey through grief, healing, and self-discovery. Dedicated to her late brother, mother, and mentor, Gangsta Boo, the album channels CARA's own life chapters into melodies that are both deeply personal and profoundly universal. Her latest song, Tears, debuted on Top 40 radio in the pop category at number 11 for new station ads. In our conversation, we talk about the role of empathy in music, how storytelling can help us process loss, and why CARA believes vulnerability is one of the greatest bridges between artist and audience. So whether you've faced your own moments of heartbreak or are simply looking for music that understands you, this episode is for you. This is E3, Engage and Empower with Empathy. Welcome to the show, CARA. It is such a delight to have you here. I've spent quite some time now researching your story and listening to your music. And I don't typically interview your type of profile. We typically address business leaders and people in the corporate world. So bringing in someone with your unique background and your musical talents, I think will bring a nice fresh flavor to this podcast. So I'm really excited to have this conversation with you.
Wonderful. I'm excited as well to be here. And I think that's interesting that you just said you usually do corporate backgrounds because I am running, the label that all my music is coming out of. So that's one of the things I have to struggle with, staying creative, but also dealing with corporate matters. So I'm right there with you on that.
I don't even know where to start. I'm so intrigued by your story. Why don't we start with your newly released project, The Chronicles?
Okay.
Clearly, this is a very deeply personal project. There's a lot of background behind that. Can you talk about what inspired that project and how this particular music that you're putting out right now may help others navigate grief or healing, and maybe how can empathy play a role in that process? Self-empathy, empathy for others.
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up because that was one of the most difficult times of my life when I wrote Tears. Of course, during the whole album writing process itself, but Tears was a day when I really was questioning life. It is surreal when anyone from your family passes away, of course, but I think it's a little extra surreal when it's unexpected or when it's a tragedy that just has no justice behind it and it's just violent and scary. Stuff like that. I just don't think anyone deserves to pass away like that. And when it happened to my family, I had always told myself I would never survive if something happened to one of my brothers because we were very close. My brother that I lost, Alex, we're only 12 months apart in age. And that's because growing up, I didn't have a lot of parental guidance. So me and my brothers stuck together. I did lose him in a home invader masked home invader. And so it was kind of like a horror film, and it was very tragic. My brother did end up getting the guy out of the house because my mom was in the house, but he hit an artery in the struggle to get him out of the house, and he was bleeding out the entire time he was trying to get the guy out of the house, and he ended up passing away in my mother's arms. He took his last breaths in her arms as the ambulance was on the way, and they told me there was no blood left in him, that there was blood all over the road and the driveway and the porch and the house, on the couches. They had to throw away all the furniture. This that destroyed me, and I tried to continue on with my life, but I couldn't. I was angry. I was devastated, and as much as I would move on with my life, I was compartmentalizing all that. And I wouldn't call it moving on with my life. I just mean as much as I was trying to get up and do my daily responsibilities. That's what I mean by moving on, just doing what you have to do. I had was compartmentalizing the entire time, and one day I just woke up and I said, "Gosh, if these dogs weren't here, I would probably either A, go look for these people that did this and just dedicate my life to that and go away for that, or I would, even though that's not me, it's just that's the only choice I would have had, or I would have just." I remember telling my mom passed away shortly after he did, in a very tragic way as well. But before she passed away, I remember telling her, I said, "Why don't we all just go be with Alex?" I said, "Why don't we all just, me and my younger brother?" And I told my mom, "Why don't we just go be with him?" And she said, "What? No, we could never do that." And then, of course, I lost her because a hospital made a terrible, terrible mistake. And I lost her. And I remember thinking, when Alex passed away, well, at least my mom and I are talking every day because I never really had her in my life a lot. And I thought, well, my mom and I are talking every day now. So, at least that's something. And then I lost her right away after Alex. So, like within the year. And so I thought, why is life like this? Why do they put us here? And I believe in God, but I was angry. I was angry at God. This happens to everybody every day. For example, before a month before my brother passed away, he had just done a blood drive for the children of Uvalde. So I know this stuff happens. And I was angry at God for allowing this stuff to happen to people that didn't deserve it. Who cares about everybody? I'm not angry at God anymore. I realized on Easter Sunday one year recently that somehow I'm going to see Alex again. I don't know when. And my mom. But of course, Alex was my age. So that's like a major thing for me. And so I'm not mad at God anymore because I had this epiphany on Easter one day that I would see him again. But I was still angry, and it's taken me so long to get that anger out of me, and I had to write tears one day to survive because it was a day, it was raining. I was so filled with pain and devastation and anger, and I didn't know what to do. I was like jogging around in the rain to get the energy out of me that I was so upset about. And then as I was jogging, all these lyrics were coming to my mind. And then after the jog, I just wrote the song, and it got me through that day because I didn't know where to turn. I didn't know what to do. And I thought that I just was going to die. And I realized the only reason I was alive was because of my dogs, because I'm their mom and I need to be here for them. But besides them, I didn't know why we were here. I I didn't understand why we have to lose people we love and our family members in these deeply, deeply painful, devastating ways where it doesn't make any sense, just like a masked man. Like I have to lose my whole brother's life because this dude came in his house? Like, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. And that is why I wrote Tears.
What an incredible instrument you have to get through your grief, Kara. I mean, I can't imagine going through 2 such tragic deaths in a row like that and still be able to get out of bed in the morning. Clearly, you were given a gift, and that is your songwriting and your voice, and you were able to put pen to paper and help get all of this anger and these feelings out on paper. So what was that process like for you? I mean, you said you that came through when you were out for a jog in the rain.
Yeah, the lyrics just started pouring in my head. And then I already had the musical track and I knew it was a song I was going to write to, but I didn't really have the story behind it yet. And then that day in the rain, it all came together. And there's a lot of songs in the album relating to grief. There's a song for my mom, there's a song for my brother, there's a song about being angry about grief, and then there's this song, so Tears. So there is a lot. The album has a big theme of grief. It also has a very talented music artist in my album. We were very good friends, and she passed away, believe it or not, within the same year that I lost my mom and brother, and she's on the album. Her name is Gangsta Boo from 3 6 Mafia, and her real name is Lola. And she's in a song in the album, and she's not here anymore with us, but her vocals will be in the album, and I think that's really special, considering this album is surrounded by themes of grief and processing grief, and to have someone in the album who's an angel now actually singing, especially someone that, like my brother who's not here with us, also grew up listening to, and now I'm thinking maybe they're listening to the song together up there.
A nice thought.
Because I had this song, I was preparing it before my brother passed away, and my brother and I used to always chat about music. Like, that was our thing. We would send songs back and forth to each other. And I was so upset with myself because I remember thinking, don't send this to Alex yet. Send it to him when it's fully done so you can get, the right reaction. And then he passed away and I never got to show him. And it just really hurt me because his name is in the song. So it's my brother's name. I have this little part where their names are said. And I just wanted to show him how my brothers inspired me, that I put them in the song and then I lost him. So I was hoping that they listen to the song together where they are.
I have no doubt that's happening.
Sometimes I think it does happen because when we were first recording it in the studio, like the lights were like glimmering, like move, like going on and off. And even my engineer was like, that's strange. The lights never do that. And I was like, oh, Alex must be here.
He's speaking to you.
Yeah. So it has been rough, but my engineer said, so since we're on this subject, my engineer said something really interesting a few days ago. I was having a really rough day, like I just told you, putting out some, because I own my labels, so I was dealing with some business issues, and I was just kind of like overwhelmed. And my engineer told me, Kara, you have come so far since you started making this album. I actually do see huge growth within you with how you're dealing with your grief and everything you're dealing with. And that just proves this album has been such a lifesaver for me. I tell everyone, if it was not for creating this book, which is an album, because every song is a chapter of my life. So if it wasn't for this book and my dogs, I don't know what would have happened to me when I lost my family, like in that way. So that's where I am today. I'm still struggling, with what happened, but I am a little bit better at learning how to live with it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, how did that process of writing each chapter and then putting vocals to it, how did that help you process your grief?
That's a funny question because some of the songs surrounding grief was hard to, writing something while it being in your mind is one thing. And I asked my vocal coach this. I said, why, when I try to sing this song, do I just start to cry? Like, I was like, I wrote it and I was okay writing it, but now it's like as if I didn't even write it because I just start shaking and I start crying. And she said, this is your throat chakra. So it's a lot different trying to process things through there than when you're writing it. So it took me a good year, I will say, maybe 6 months to a year, to actually learn how to get these subjects into my throat chakra.
Wow.
Because I was crying and shaking. I couldn't even vocalize what I had written myself. And that just shows you the process with grief, how difficult it is for people. I couldn't even say what was in my heart because it was so traumatic for me. And I think being in vocals and repeating it, trying to do it over and over and over, and eventually I got to time when I could actually sing it. And then I was like, okay, I can finally sing it. Now we can work on making it the best it can be. But it took me a moment just to be able to process that grief within my throat chakra. It was very hard, and it was a whole process. It didn't just happen. It took my vocal coach Rachel Lawrence and I some time to be able for me to perform it and vocalize it.
I mean, that's fascinating. I would have never thought about the difference between putting pen to paper and actually vocalizing the music and how that could impact you emotionally. Given that experience, what did you learn from that that you could share with others who are grieving? Um, I mean, what advice would you give them based on that experience?
Okay, I have advice, but I never want to push it on anyone because it's so hard to get there. My advice would be, no matter how angry you are, no matter how devastated you are, no matter how traumatized you are, know in your heart that somewhere there's going to be an outlet somewhere. And even if you're not an artist, even if you're not a writer, maybe it's tennis, maybe it's dog training, maybe it's jogging, maybe it's surfing. There's something you're going to like, and you're not going to be able to go do it the next day. I mean, that's ridiculous. Who's going to go surfing the day after they lose someone? Now, I'm not saying just forget about everything and go jump on a surfboard. I'm just saying, hopefully, you find that outlet before the grief just consumes your whole life. And don't get me wrong, it's going to consume your life for a while. It's not something you can escape. You will start compartmentalizing it, and you're going to think you're escaping it, and you're going to think you're dealing with it, but that's not dealing with it. Not thinking about it does not help. It makes your anger increase and it makes you have outbursts. So once you start doing your activity, whether it's art, writing, sports, somehow that grief, it never goes away, but it starts to process through your actions and through your body, and that energy starts releasing itself and processing. And that's when you learn how to process your grief. And unfortunately, that's when you learn how you have to live with it. And I say unfortunately because you never want to, when you love a family member, you feel guilty for moving on with your life and being happy and having a happy moment. Your family member just got taken away and they're watching you and you're acting, like it doesn't matter. And it does matter, and this is what's going through your head. So it's not going to be some easy process where I can just tell the person, go pick up a tennis racket, because that person's going to be thinking about that injustice, that loss, the death, the pain. But once they find that one day when they can do it, even if it's 10 minutes, I bet you their body and their mind is going to want it again. And that's what happened to me once I started writing about it. It just was like a faucet. It just didn't stop. And that's how it turned into a whole album. And of course, there's different subjects within that album, but it's overall the same story. It all goes together, and processing it through an outlet has literally saved my life. So that's the advice I can give. It's not just going to happen on day 1, or even it might not even happen in the first year. I mean, everyone's different. But I just say hopefully you find it before it consumes you for too long, and it's unhealthy. Grief is normal because we're humans, but you don't want it to take you to a place where your life is unhealthy. And it can happen, and it will happen, but you've got to find an outlet to control your grief. And I don't even want to call it control, but to process it.
Yeah. No, I love that advice. I actually talked to someone recently who lost his mother suddenly, and he said he started going on runs with his daughter, and that was his, like,
Like, yeah.
your his version of your songwriting.
Yes,
I think you
exactly.
just naturally gravitate to something that feels right in the moment.
Exactly. And that's when I say it'll come to you. You'll naturally, I think, gravitate to it, but it does take a little time. But you're right. Yeah, that's absolutely the key, what you just said.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Kara. That's super insightful. I'm just curious, I mean, going back to the topic of empathy, I don't know where you would rate yourself on the scale of being an empath or not, or somewhere in the middle.
Well, I am.
But I'm just wondering how this experience, how writing this album, how you were able to connect to empathy for yourself, self-empathy as you're going through this grieving process, but then how did it also help you stand in the shoes of others even more than you may have done before as a natural empath?
It's a good question. I think having empathy for myself, I think that me working on the album as if, as my life's work, that in itself, I think, without me realizing it, was giving me my own empathy, because I didn't really know how to comfort myself. And so that was the empathy I needed, in a sense, even though that's not empathy. That was all I could give myself. What was really interesting to me is later on, when I started really recording these songs, people, for example, my vocal coach, she told me, "Kara, wow, I really think some of these songs about grief are really going to help people." And I said, "You really think so?" Like in shock, because I really just wrote these songs to survive, like you said, to give myself my own empathy, to try to survive. And I never thought I could help others. And so when she said that, it really touched me, because I mean, that's why we're here for. We're here to help others. And ultimately, that is my goal in life, right? I just didn't realize that that's what that was doing until she said it. And then I realized that because someone listened to it and they got tears in their eyes in front of me, someone that I know listened to the song, and they started crying when they heard the part about dogs jumping in the air. Thanks to them, I care. Stay here for now, I swear. That's about my lines about I'm staying on earth right now because I'm going to take care of these puppies because I love them. And that person just started crying in front of me. And I thought to myself, people are picking up on the grief message in this song. And maybe this will help others, because the thing is that, for example, when I heard Gangsta Boo, who's in my album, for the first time when I was like, a preteen, I was going through some things at home that not a lot of people understood. I didn't have people to talk to about it. And then I heard her sing about it in the 90s, and I said, somebody else is going through this. This was about how I was growing up in a home where cannabis was being grown. And I was scared. It was a lot of hydro. I was worried for the lives of my family members. And I remember, when you're a kid and you're going through being worried about home invasions and all this stuff. I mean, who do you talk to about that? You can't even talk to your school counselor about that. Like, they'll call the police. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, like, I felt completely alone. So when I heard Gangsta Boo singing about hydro, which in the 90s, it was unheard of because everyone was still doing soil weed, from coming over the border. And so no one had hydroponic cannabis. Like we did, but it was like a rare thing, and it was up and coming, and it was known as this cleaner, better product. And Gangsta Boo's sitting there in the 90s singing about it. And I'm just a little kid, like, oh my God.
She's speaking to me.
Yeah, I was like, there's somebody else. Because again, in the 90s, this is a more rare thing. And now, of course, in California, it's not rare. Hydroponic, or some other places, but especially in California, because California is known for hydro. But growing up in the 90s, it certainly wasn't a thing in Texas. So I definitely felt alone. I definitely was scared. And that just brought so much to my life when I heard that. And I realized I was going to somehow be okay just from one song. Started to realize when Rachel told me this, you can help people with these lyrics. I thought, you know what? Maybe you're right. If Gangsta Boo could help me with one song, realize when I was a little kid, it's gonna be okay, even though it wasn't, but she made me think so. Then maybe when someone's in deep grief and they hear these lyrics, maybe they'll also realize, even though they know they're not alone because death is happening every day, maybe it will help comfort them a little bit in their grief. Just how Gangsta Boo comforted me with her words when I was feeling alone. So it is true that as much as I wrote this album to survive for myself and to get to my next phase in life, because I can't even get there until I process all this. So, as much as I did it for me, hope it helps others. I do, because I know we're all experiencing these thoughts from time to time. It's not rare. And I hope it does help others. And I have been told it does. And I noticed I was helping other people when I recently spoke at a panel about owning a music label. A bunch of young women came up to me afterwards, and they were asking so much advice. And I realized, that's just why I do this. I just want to help people. Ridiculous. But the thing is, it's hard to write these songs. It's hard to process these things. So when you see that it's helping people, or you see young girls being inspired by your struggles later on, you realize that's why I did all this. It was really crappy experience. Crying for a year trying to get these songs out. It's been a really deep struggle being a woman, like running a music label and not having people take you seriously. All that's been tough. And it still is. It's not like I've gotten through it. But then when you're here and like there's, 5 girls just waiting for you right when you step up a panel and they want to know things. You're like, I'm so happy I can actually tell them advice. Like I can actually tell them something right now that could help their future. And, they could take the advice or not. But look, these are like, 18, 19, 20-year-old girls. I mean, I have a lot of years over them. So I think I can give them some advice, and I really like to do that. I have this thing where when there's younger women, I kind of like to be like a older sister or mom. And I think a lot of that comes from I didn't really have a mom in my life. I loved giving these young girls advice, and then giving them a hug and we went on our ways. I was happy I could inspire them and if that's what we're not here to do, then I think that, because other people have inspired me to get to that point to where I'm at, including my brothers. So I mean, I think that's what it's really about. We're all here to help and inspire each other.
I think that's a great message to share and to wrap up this incredibly inspiring conversation. I mean, you've given me so much to think about, Kara, and just the way you've gone through this journey and uncovered your own ability to process a really, really difficult emotional situation. And I appreciate you being vulnerable today and sharing that with us. I know that probably wasn't easy for you. I'm sure you've had to tell this story quite a few times and tears flow every time.
Yeah, I'm always a little like, today I have to talk about Alex or my mom, and I'm like getting mentally prepared for it. And I'm never able like not to cry about it, but I think it's still healthy because it forces me to think about something that I don't want to think about, and it's still healthy. So thank you for giving me this safe space to do so.
Well, thank you for giving us the gift of your voice
Thank
and
you for being so supportive.
your writing and everything that goes along with it. I know we didn't get a chance to talk about how you've brought the flute into your music. That's for another day, but I was incredibly inspired by Boulevard and the way you had the flute in there as well. I played the flute when I was 12, so
Cool.
I was like, there's no way this song is so like hip hop
It,
R&B
it's
sounding, and then a
it's
flute comes in. This is great.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like trap pop. Yeah, so the beats, if they sound more hip hop or I have like a lot of 808s, it's really because I combine trap beats into pop music. And then of course the classical instrumentation as well. That's what I do. I am not genre based because those are two songs from my album, The Chronicles. Boulevard is a chapter and Tears is a chapter, and there's so much more to come. There's 16 songs. But that's kind of what I do as I don't go by genre. And my thing is that it has to flow properly because in life we experience emotions and different things come out. So it's not about having a genre, it's just about all the elements flowing together properly so the chapters connect.
I love that you're your own thing. You're not trying to pigeonhole yourself into a specific genre.
Right.
You're just letting the story flow. And
Tell itself. Yeah.
yeah, I think that's so cool. Well,
Thank you.
I thank you again for joining me today. This was such
Thank
a
you,
wonderful
Rebecca.
conversation. And I know you have a YouTube channel at the official Kara,
And then,
your website, officialkara.com. Do you have any other channels you want to share with
yeah.
the audience?
Yeah, it's so funny because my Instagram's actually the opposite. It's Kara Official. So I should probably get the other ones backwards into my first name first. But yeah, my Instagram's Kara Official, and all those links you just mentioned can be found at the link on my Instagram as well. And thank you so much for being so supportive. And honestly, this has been such a pleasure and such a beautiful time. So thank you for today, Rebecca.
Thank you. Goes both ways.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
If you enjoyed this podcast and would like to hear more, please subscribe wherever you like to listen to podcasts. And if you would like to learn more about the Empathy Collective, check out our website, theempathycollective.com. Life is too short. Let's take care of each other at work so that together we can make this world a better place.